Hi, I'm Alana. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're doing a get ready with me for church. So, in today's video, I would like to recommend my favorite non-fiction book of all time. I actually found this on Friday in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house, and I reread it immediately. I reread it in one day. So this is a book by this psychiatrist, Dr M Scott Peck, wherein he talks about psychology of evil. And so he references like cases he's witnessed in his clinical experience, and he basically illustrates like how we can begin to try to understand evil and like evil people and work towards developing a psychology of evil. So in the first chapter he writes about this man, and this man comes to see him because he has these obsessive thoughts about death. Like he starts having these thoughts that are just like really intrusive thoughts saying you will die at 55, and then the thoughts come like you will die at 45, and then he starts getting these thoughts that say like he's driving over a bridge, and the thoughts say the next time you drive over this bridge will be the last time and you will die. And he is literally starts like getting up at midnight after his wife has gone to bed to go and drive over the bridge just to like prove to himself that the thoughts are not true and that he won't die if he goes over the bridge. And so like every night he sneaks out after his wife has gone to bed just to drive over the bridge, just to like make sure that the thoughts are not real and that he won't die the next time he drives over the bridge. And so he becomes like obsessed with this, and then eventually he comes into the doctor's one day and he's like, guess what, the obsessive thoughts are gone. And the doctor's like, oh, that's great, like how? And he doesn't really understand, but he's like, okay, well, an improvement's good, I guess. And so then the next time he comes in, he says, okay, I've got a confession to make, doc. The reason why these obsessive thoughts have stopped is because I made a deal with the devil. And he says, what do you mean? And he said, I made a pact with the devil that if I have these obsessive thoughts again, then the devil has to ensure that if I have the thought, if you drive over that bridge again, the next time you drive over that bridge, you will die, then the devil has to make sure that I will die the next time I drive over the bridge, because therefore I have no incentive to actually go and drive over the bridge again, because I know that I will die if I do. And so, and he also says that he staked his son's life on this. So he says like, I needed, some kind of collateral. So I told the devil, and if you will make this deal with me and make sure that I don't need to drive over the bridge again, because if I have these thoughts, then I'll know that they are true. And so I don't need to go and try and drive over the bridge to make sure they're not true. And he says, so I've made a pact with the devil that also my son will die too. And so the psychiatrist says like, that was a really bad idea. And he says, why? I don't even believe in the devil. And the psychiatrist kind of explains to him that like, it doesn't matter if you believe in the devil or not. If you have made a pact with the devil, then that is real, whether you believe in the devil or not. And so it's binding. And so he opens with this story of this man, and he explains that like this man was not yet evil, but he had the potential to become evil. And the reason why he was not evil was because he still had like what he called the guilties. So he still felt like, oh, I feel really guilty about making this pact with the devil. And so that's why the psychiatrist opens with this story, illustrating that this man had not yet crossed over to evil because he still had like a conscience telling him this was wrong. So anyway, this man ended up revoking the pact with the devil. And the psychiatrist explains that the reason why he had these obsessive thoughts about death was because this man was refusing to face his own death. He was refusing to take responsibility for like any aspects of his own life. He just wanted to run away from himself. And so the psychiatrist says that is like one of the key features of evil people, is that they refuse to take any kind of responsibility, and their primary motivation is just like maintaining their image as good, respectable people, but like at any cost. So That's why he calls them people of the light. And then in the second chapter, he illustrates the second story. So these people, he explains, were evil. So these people, this couple, brought their son in to see the psychiatrist because he had been like failing academically in school. Like he'd always been a good student, and then he started failing academically, and he also stole a car and crashed it. And so his parents come in, they explain to the doctor that this boy's brother had committed suicide a year beforehand. And so they say like this might have something to do with the reason why he's acting out. And so Dr. Peck speaks to these parents, and he speaks to the boy, and the boy comes in and he's like a typical angsty 15-year-old. Like he's trying to get a reaction out of him, and he just seems like sullen and depressed. And so he's asking him about things like, do you have any interests? And then he gets to the topic of Christmas, and he's like, are you excited for Christmas? Like, what do you want? Do you have any Christmas presents that you would like? And the boy comes to tell him that for last Christmas, what my parents gave me was a gun. And the psychiatrist is like, okay, that's weird. Like, what kind of gun? And he says it was a 22 caliber pistol. And then the psychiatrist is like, wasn't that the same kind of gun that your brother killed himself with? And then the boy says, no, it was not the same kind of gun. It was the same gun. And he explains that his parents gave him his brother's suicide weapon for Christmas. And so this couple, the psychiatrist illustrates that like he says they have crossed over into evil because like their primary motivation was just like maintaining their image as good, respectable people. And so they took their son to see a psychiatrist because, so that we could say, oh, we took him to see a psychiatrist because it was the right thing to do. But they didn't actually like care for his well-being. And they were kind of like basically telling him that he should kill himself too. So yeah, and then the final chapter talks about group evil, like the psychology of group evil, with reference to the genocide of My Lai, which was a genocide that occurred in Vietnam, I believe, many years ago. So these American soldiers had been trained to go and like kill the Viet Cong soldiers, but when they got there, when they arrived, there were only like unarmed people, unarmed women and children, and just like clearly citizens who were not soldiers. But the American soldiers ended up killing like hundreds of them anyway, killing hundreds of unarmed men and women and children. And so he talks about like how did the genocide of My Lai happen, and he explains that one of the aspects of it is specialization. So like these soldiers who went to My Lai, they were trained like to specialize in killing Viet Cong soldiers. So that's like, he said that specialization is one of those things where it kind of like clouds your perspective because then you don't take into account anything else. You're just going there with the aim to just kill Viet Cong soldiers. And so he said that was one of the things that caused that instance of group evil. And he said that the other thing is that if he were to ask the people involved in My Lai, like, how did this happen? Say he went to the weapons department, then he said, how did this genocide happen? They would say, oh, we're just the weapons department. You need to speak to the policy department. They're in charge of this kind of thing. And then if he went and spoke to the policy department, they would say, oh, we are just the policy department. You need to go and speak to the weapons department. And like everyone would be abdicating responsibility to someone else. And so he says that in My Lai, most of the people who were involved in committing this genocide likely would not have felt like a guilty conscience because they would not have believed that they had done anything wrong until eventually, obviously, some people were charged with war crimes. I think in total 25 people were charged in war crimes, and there were about 50 people in total who allegedly were involved in the genocide. Yeah, so he said that that is part of the psychology of group evil, is the abdication of responsibility that allows people to act just on orders without, thinking for themselves or considering, like, is this right or not? And so that is my absolute favorite nonfiction book of all time, People of the Lie, A Hope for Healing Human Evil, by Dr M Scott Peck. Thank you for getting ready with me for church today. You're beautiful, you're perfect, I love you, God bless you. If you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.